Give me line 3. Hello, Joseph in Colorado Springs.
How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Not too bad. I wanted to ask you a question. I was asked to call into the show by somebody, actually.
Okay.
And the topic I wanted to cover was objective morality.
All right.
I talked to a lot of atheists, and I'm actually close friends with a lot of them. And I kind of wanted to know, how do you justify things without objective morality? And I'm not saying that you need, how do I say this? How do you justify things that you do as being moral without having a set of what of guidelines to call things moral?
I'm going to let our guest go first again, unless you need some support.
No, I think
I'm sure you've had to talk about this a lot this year.
This comes up a lot. I think that this desire for objective anything is an illusion, a desire for something that doesn't really exist. When I was a pastor, people wanted to know about the ideal church, or the ideal behavior, or the ideal way of praying, or the ideal worship service, or whatever. They always were looking for this idealism, this sort of Platonic purity, that we could somehow access that. If we could get to that, that pristine. If we could find the perfect coffee mug, then we could fashion every other coffee mug after that coffee mug, and we would have the perfect coffee mug. And I just think none of that exists. Like, I don't think any of that is real. I really feel like morality is the way that we have together chosen to maximize the experience of our lives and the life and experience of other people. I think morality is the way that we behave that helps the most people experience the most joy and happiness in life. And when we inhibit other people's happiness in ways that we could avoid doing that, to me that becomes a question of morality.
Let me add on to that for a minute. I think that there are different ways that objectively could be used, and I think a lot of morality is based around, like Ryan said, trying to maximize the happiness of people around us, and also, in a bigger sense, sort of getting along with each other as a large-scale society. Morality is going to have to be about accomplishing the goal of living up to particular values that you have. The values could hypothetically be subjective in some way because they are relative to the people who have the values. Like, for instance, if cows were to make the most moral society, then I think hamburgers would certainly be banned. But given that we can agree on a certain set of value judgments, and I think most of us can, because there are a lot of things we value, like living a long life, living a happy life, not being in fear of dying or of losing all our stuff all the time, finding love. Given that those are our objectives, there are objective ways to achieve those, just like, for instance, there are objective ways to achieve a healthy body. Like, if you eat good food and don't smoke and don't do a lot of other bad things that are bad for you, those are objectively ways to increase your chances of survival. And similar to that, behaving in what we refer to as a moral fashion is a way of maximizing, like Ryan said, our happiness and good living. And there are ideas that the Bible presents as moral, which are actually counter to some of those objectives, and people wind up arguing about how those things are really good for us, even if it's not obvious. And like I said to the first caller, it doesn't much matter to me that the Bible says a thing is true. You have to actually analyze whether it matches what reality appears to be.
Well, I want to question. So, would you say a large I guess morality would depend
You're breaking up.
the society or the group of people that you're talking about. Well, I think we can all agree, probably most of us would agree that killing somebody or raping somebody or hurting a child probably wouldn't be moral, but there are societies where that's totally acceptable in.
Yeah, the Bible doesn't always agree with that either.
Yeah,
What do you
I
mean?
think morality has evolved in the same way that people have evolved. And what I meant before by there not being this objective, sort of like big with a capital O objective standard, is that I think morality is an open source project, right? It's a wiki. We're always working.
Geek after my own heart.
Yeah. We're always working together in society. This is what democracy is about, right? Democracy is about all of us, theoretically, working together to decide what is the good life and how do we give the most people, ideally all people, access to that good life.
A society where most of the members agree that rape is a good idea might be great for potential rapists. Maybe, maybe not. It
wouldn't last.
It's definitely bad for the rape victims.
Right, and enough of that behavior and something would change. I don't think, take murder for example. If there was that stupid film that came out a few days ago where they suspend all the laws for a day and everybody just goes around killing everybody.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
Right.
which is just absurd. I don't
Kristen
think
Slater or something.
Yeah,
somebody famous.
And it was this idea if we suspended all moral values for a day, what would people do? Would they just go around randomly just murdering people? And I just think society wouldn't last. And the reason why we have moral standards, roughly speaking, in society is because we've learned that this is the best way to live together. Killing people is not productive to the flourishing of society, the advancement of our species. It just doesn't work. It's not practical.
What I want to ask you is, I don't know if you guys got a heads up to this before you guys answered the call from me. You're aware of what Calvinism teaches, right?
Yes. Calvinists believe that, correct me if I'm wrong here, it's predetermined whether you are going to heaven or hell or not. And you cannot change your ultimate fate, but you can demonstrate through your actions where you're ultimately intended to go. Is that right?
Right. But I do want to ask you a question. So if you believe, let's just say that all moral values were suspended for a day, you kind of hit on that and it made me think of something. So I want to ask you a question. Do you believe that people would act out, would go and do those sort of things? If you do,
I think some people would.
Yeah.
I don't have any particular interest in raping anyone.
Maybe someone that has a grudge against somebody would take it out if they knew there were no consequences.
Yeah.
Sometimes threat of punishment will keep people from doing bad things.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I am for social consequences, and I'm for societal decisions to punish bad actors.
But I was going to say, but if people would do that, doesn't that speak to the doctrine of total depravity?
Of what? Total depravity?
Total depravity.
No, because I said some people would probably kill each other, but I think most people wouldn't.
Even as a Christian, I didn't believe in total depravity.
It doesn't have to be killing each other. It could be, well, I can't do nothing. I can't get in trouble today, so I'm going to go steal from this store, or I'm going to go commit this crime. And it doesn't have to be murder.
That would be great for the thief. That would be great for the thief. It would be really harmful for the store owner. And so I think, when we're talking about immoral actions, we're talking about a zero-sum game or worse, where one person's gain is another person's loss, and the society as a whole doesn't benefit.
Even just a theory of large numbers, it's not going to last. I've had this question put to me too by some Christian podcasters this year, and they said, they asked me, why would I do a year without God? Why not do a year without morality, or a year without a year of running a child slave ring or something like that? And I said, because I don't want to. I don't want to do those things. I don't want to hurt people. I've never have wanted to hurt anyone. I mean, well, there's been a few people I've wanted to hurt, but that's different.
You might not. It's not just about hurting people. I guarantee you there are things Let me ask you a question. If I could, this was posed to, and I don't want to take up too much airtime, whatever, but this was posed, I want you to think about this. This was posed by, you know who Paul Washer is, correct?
By what?
Do you know who Paul Washer is, or Matt Slick?
Paul, I know Matt Slick, yes. We've talked to him a few times on the show.
I don't think I know.
He's
about to find out.
presuppositional apologist.
Oh, yeah.
I probably listened to you guys for the last couple of years.
Yeah. You might want to go back and hear the Matt Slick episodes, because there were one where he talked to me and two where he talked to Matt, I think.
Yeah, I'll go back and learn them. What I was going to ask is, so, I mean, I don't know if you guys have the idea or the, whatever, the humans are, not all of us are bad, some of us are naturally good, but let me ask you a question. If I was able, and this will be the last question I ask, because I don't want to take too much time, you guys, if I was able to take every thought that you guys have ever had, everything, like any thoughts you ever had, and post it up onto a big screen TV for everyone to see, would there not be a few of them that you thought maybe I shouldn't have thought that, or that's embarrassing, or that's against morality, or anything like that? Because I know with me, there's been plenty of stuff that I thought that I would not want everyone else to know.
There would be some things that embarrass me and some things that I'm really proud of, just like everybody.
Well, doesn't that say to you that there's at least some element of immorality in everybody, or bad?
So?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean,
That's a long way from total depravity, though.
We are all complicated creatures full of desires and impulses.
Yeah, a lot of times we are selfish and would like to do things that benefit us if we can get away with them. But that is what the morality question is, because the reason that this issue is so hotly debated by philosophers and theologians is because it's really complicated to set up a world where everyone can live as well as possible and not just have one guy who's the emperor who gets everything and screws over everybody else.
Okay. I can agree with that. Well, I think you guys have pretty much answered everything I had for you.
Great. Nice talking to you, Joseph.
Take care.
You guys have a good time. I'll go back to watching your show on the webcast now.
All right.
Cool.
See ya.
You guys have a good day.
Yeah, these buttons don't work at all today. Hang up on 3 and pick up 4, unless you would like to do an interlude and say anything else that's on your mind.
No, I mean, just that comes up all the time.
Yeah.
And I think there's two ways of talking about morality. I mean, I think sometimes I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about these words objective and subjective. I mean, the minute you admit that there's a subjective morality, people want to sort of jump in there and say, oh, then it's just situational ethics, whatever you want to do, you just do.
Christians seem to have a very all or nothing mindset, and also they sometimes play fast and loose with the meanings of things like objective and subjective, because they say, well, if anything about morality is subjective, then everybody can do whatever they want. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. And there is middle ground that we have to deal with and find all the time, right?
I mean, we're working it out. I mean, isn't that to me, that's what democracy is about. We're working out how to be successful human beings, not just alone, but in societies, in groups of human beings. And I can't just do whatever's best for me or whatever I think might be best for me, because there's somebody living next door to me who may have something else to say about that, and there's the person I earn my living from who has something to say about what I do with my time. And we're all living in a complex web of relationships, and it's that web of relationships that helps us figure out how we, if you're the last man on earth, then you can make up whatever you want, I suppose. But
right, because as long as it's not hurting somebody else outside yourself, there is not that need for a moral system.
Yeah.
Okay, line 4.